Yo, what's up guys, welcome back to another video. This is the Nissan Leaf. It is an electric hatchback. I really can't say more than that. But anyway, we are reviewing the Mark II Nissan Leaf. Let's get into it. So what are the exterior looks like? Well, the front kind of and kind of doesn't look like a Nissan GTR. I kind of see it, I kind of don't see it. That's really all I can say about that one. The side looks totally fine. I like how the rear light, it swoops down onto the C-pillar. However, the side skirts just do not work. It just looks wrong. The shape looks wrong, the design looks wrong, it doesn't work. The rear is fine, it's inoffensive. However, the black strip where the Nissan, the Leaf and the eco emissions badge thing just doesn't work. And that blue strip at the bottom, I don't know, it may be to show that it's a blue car as in eco, but it just looks tacky. Don't quote me on the blue strip, I don't actually know. Compare that to the old Nissan Leaf though, and it looks like a Ferrari 458. The old one, it looked like a complete frog. Literally, like the Nissan Juke. Nissan obviously loves frogs for some reason. The lights, they were an odd shape, but they had their reasons for it. However, that does not excuse the rest of the car. The rest of the car was ugly. The side, well, the Nissan Leaf Mark II looks much more sleeker. However, the old one just looks froggish and bulbous. The rear of the Mark I Nissan Leaf, well, again, bulbous. That's the word for this car, bulbous. The rear lights extended further down the car than the centre of earth does, and they put a rear reversing camera on it, but they put it on the boot release thing. And basically it looks so tacky. They put no effort in at all. I don't care, you get what you get, deal with it. That's probably Nissan's quote for that reversing camera. The rear of the Mark II is much better, looks less bulbous, the whole car is less bulbous, and they put the reversing camera underneath so you can't see it so well. What is the interior like? Well, it looks alright, it's decently laid out. Something I do have is the driver's display, part analog, part digital. Do one or the other, don't do both. The rest of the dashboard it's fine, it doesn't spring any springs, but you know, what can you do? The old one, it did look more fancy, more revolutionary, but it also looked worse at the same time. And you know what? I prefer the new one, honestly, despite it looking less revolutionary. So what is the performance like? Well, if you get the standard car with a 40 kWh battery and electric motor, you get 147 brake horsepower and 236 pound-feet of torque. The car will weigh 1,580 kilograms because obviously the batteries and the electric motors weigh quite a bit. Because it's electric, it only has like one speed, that's just drive really. 0 to 60 is 7.6 seconds, which is not too shabby at all. However, the top speed is shabby at 90. So you know, if you want to go 1,000,000 miles an hour, this is not the car to do so. Not that you can actually do that anywhere in the world anymore, because of rules. However, if you get the E Plus version, you get a 62 kWh battery with more range. You get 213 horsepower thanks to a beefier electric motor. You also get 251 pound-feet of torque. It does weigh a bit more at around 1,700 kilograms, and you also get the same one-speed gearbox thing that all electric cars have really. The 0 to 60 has been improved by pretty much, give or take, 1 second at 6.7 seconds, which is pretty nippy for a car of that size. That isn't even a proper sports car. Top speed is better at 98 miles an hour, but it's still not the car to, you know, do performance runs in. Practicality. Well, the boot is 435 litres big, which is very, very big. It's very deep and long, and it's very good. So if you want to fit 1,000,000 suitcases in, you go and do that. The rear was not too bad either. Legroom was fine. Headroom was fine as well. What was the handling like? Well, people said that the handling of the Nissan Leaf was quite good. However, if you get the E Plus version, A, it's heavier, and B, because it's heavier, the suspension has been altered a bit to account for the roll of the weight and whatever science goes into it. So it is a bit more harsh over like potholes and bumps and all that. So do be wary of that. Is there anything else worth mentioning? Well, the batteries in a Nissan Leaf, if you take really good care of your battery, then it will last a good 10 years. This is just a rough estimate according to some statements on the internet. However, eventually they will need to be changed completely, because then the batteries will be just made redundant because they've been worn out. So that is a costly and not pleasant thing to think about and do. And because it's battery powered, it is really affected in the cold. The range suffers dramatically. And that's not even me just talking about, oh, the Nissan Leaf drops in range. No, pretty much most, if not all, electric cars drop in range in freezing cold. And me being in England, I can tell you that the cold is pretty often. So, what is the verdict? Well, the pros are, the exterior is inoffensive, it's completely fine, and it's much better than the old Nissan Leaf. The interior is nicely laid out, the rear legroom is very good, and so is the boot space at a massive 435 litres. If you're doing short range journeys, then this is a fine car to do. And the 0 to 60 is decent, so you know you can race people at the light if you're that kind of person. However, it's not the car for very long journeys. You know, it hasn't got the biggest battery pack in the world. It's not a Tesla Model S, for example. The batteries do need changing, which is a bit of an issue. You know, it's not something you want to do, and it's very costly. The E Plus version has a worse ride because of the heaviness and the suspension. And the cold weather reduces the range dramatically, which is, well, not brilliant. However, that completes my review of the Nissan Leaf. If you would like to check out my main channel, I will leave that in the description below. If you could subscribe to that, that will be brilliant. Instagrams will be at the end, and if you could follow me on them, that would be great. But anyway, peace out.